This
Sqoop.
conference will now be recorded.
Let me just start the recording. Let me just open an editor. So what is Sqoop? So Sqoop is actually a combination of two words. It's a combination of SQL plus Hadoop. If you closely observe, SQ is actually coming from SQL and OOP is actually coming from Hadoop. So that's how the name Hadoop, that's how the name Sqoop has been derived from. It's a combination of two words, SQL plus Hadoop. Now, what is the reason behind why the naming convention is so? Because the reason is it's a data transfer tool. So Sqoop is a data transfer tool. So some people even call it as data ingestion tool also. So it is basically used to transfer the data. So transfer the data from where to where? It can transfer the data from SQL to Hadoop and Hadoop to SQL.
Vamshi, it's not much clear. It's too small. Words are too small. Like,
So, sorry?
the words are too small. It's not much clear to us. Can you zoom in the words a bit?
Oh, you zoom in the font, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, 1 minute. I could not remember how to zoom in here. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me try to go with Notepad++ for now. So is it clear now? Is the font good?
Yeah, Vamshi, it's good now. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So basically, Sqoop is actually a combination of two words, SQL plus Hadoop. Now, what is Sqoop? So Sqoop is actually a data transfer tool. So if someone asks you what the Sqoop is, a simple answer to that question could be it's a data transfer tool. Or some people even call this as data ingestion tool also. Right? Now, it can transfer the data from SQL to Hadoop and Hadoop to SQL. So Sqoop can transfer the data from SQL to Hadoop and Hadoop to SQL. Right? Now, when I say SQL here, what is the meaning of SQL? It's nothing but RDBMS, right? It can be MySQL, Oracle, etc. From MySQL or Oracle to, it can transfer the data to Hadoop. When I say Hadoop here, it can transfer the data directly to HDFS or Hive. So it can transfer the data from HDFS or Hive to RDBMS. So Sqoop can do only these two things. There are names given to this. The first operation is called as import operation, where we are trying to get the data from any of the RDBMS to HDFS or Hive. That is import operation. And the reverse operation is called as export operation, where we are trying to get the data from HDFS or Hive to RDBMS. It can do only two things, import and export, nothing else. And one very important thing, especially with respect to resume point of view, ideally speaking, the correct wording for Sqoop is SQOOP, which is the correct word. But a lot of people I've seen in resumes, they give it as ice cream scoop, SCOOP, which is wrong, right? So make sure you don't do this mistake. It should be SQOOP, not SCOOP. That is one mistake. And the other one is HDFS. The correct word is HDFS, right? But a lot of times I see HDFC, which is again wrong. So make sure you don't do these two mistakes. These might look silly for now, but sometimes these are the blunder mistakes, because I'll tell you why. The recruiters or HRs, right? So they're not technical guys. So they get the keywords from somebody, manager, and they're going to get those keywords and they're going to search in the job portals for the keywords. Now, only if there is a match, that's where your resume get filtered out. So there are chances that your resume might not be filtered out if you go with the wrong words, right? So that is one reason. Suppose let us say that somehow your resume got shortlisted, but now you are attending the interview, right? You are in the interview. Now the interviewer all of a sudden looks at these words in your resume, Sqoop and SDFC. Again, that may leave a bad impression, right? So make sure you don't do these two mistakes. Otherwise, your resume might not be shortlisted. Even if it gets shortlisted, interview may not go as per your expectation, right? So avoid these two mistakes at any cost. So let's get into the more details. So what is Sqoop? As I told, is a simple data transfer tool which can transfer the data from SQL to Hadoop and Hadoop to SQL. And it's a tool designed to transfer the data between Hadoop and relational databases. Now, when I say relational databases, it can be either MySQL or Oracle to Hadoop HDFS. And also the reverse operation is it can transfer the data from HDFS or Hive to the relational databases. There are certain names given to this, as I told. Import operation is nothing but transferring the data from RDBMSs to HDFS or Hive. Export operation is reverse operation, where it can transfer the data from HDFS to relational databases. Again, there is no coding involved in Sqoop. You don't need to write any code here. It's a very simple technology in the entire big data world. So we have to learn some commands. It's a command line tool, which is basically used to copy the data between the relational data sources to HDFS and vice versa. So even though it's commands, internally it has been developed in Java. But again, as I told, you don't need to write any Java code. Also, I have mentioned that it can do only two things: import and export. In import, the source is nothing but the relational database and the target is nothing but HDFS. What about export? In export, it is reverse. The source is HDFS and the target is relational database. So one of the interview question that you might expect is, even though we're going to run Sqoop commands, internally it is nothing but the map reduce jobs, which does the import and export for us. And the last point is important. You may not be able to understand for now, but let us read it. It would be map only jobs. There won't be any reduce related in those jobs. So whenever you run any Sqoop commands, internally it runs map reduce, but it will be only map only jobs. There won't be any reduce in that. We will see everything practically. Right. So let's understand the architecture of Sqoop. It's a very simple architecture. On the left hand side, you can see the relational databases. On the right hand side, you can see Hadoop components such as HDFS or Hive. So you can see Sqoop here. So Sqoop can be used to perform import operation. Import operation is nothing but you can import the data from relational databases to HDFS or Hive, and the export operation is reverse. It can export the data from HDFS or Hive to the relational databases. Very simple architecture. Now let's get into the hands-on. So I'm going to open my Cloudera QuickStart. So right click anywhere on the desktop, say open in terminal, maximize it. Terminal, set title, give it as Sqoop. Click on OK. Click on view on zoom in. First, let's see the version of Sqoop. So for every command of Sqoop, you're going to see these two lines, which can be ignored completely. Ignore first two lines. they will not have any impact on our learning or functional impact. So ignore those two lines completely. We are trying to check the version of Sqoop, and you can see the Sqoop version is showing us 1.4.6. Right, so Sqoop version is showing us 1.4.6. Now suppose, let us say that I wanted to see the list of all the commands in Sqoop. Then you can just say Sqoop space help. That will give you the list of all the commands in Sqoop. Now have a look here. I've just typed Sqoop space help, and I can see the list of all the available commands. Suppose if you wanted to get information for a specific command, then you can use this Sqoop space help and then the command. Here the command can be anything. Suppose let us say that I wanted to know more information about listing databases. Then I can use Sqoop help list databases. Let me show that. Enter. So you got the output. Now you can see that there are plenty of parameters, but don't worry. I will tell you what are the important ones for now. So -f username is definitely needed in all the Sqoop commands that we're going to type. And we would also require -f password. And then the other thing is -f connect. So these are the three important parameters that we should be using in every Sqoop command that we're going to have. So we spoke about how to check the version of Sqoop. We have seen the help to get the list of all the commands in Sqoop. Also, we have seen how to get the help for a specific command. Right now, in our case, we are going to use MySQL as the database to get the data from. So before connecting to MySQL, let us verify if the MySQL database is up and running or not. Right. So this command is used to check the status of MySQL database. So let us run this command. Sudo service MySQL status. Sudo is nothing but super user 2. That is, we are going to run this command as root user, and we are going to check the service called as MySQL D. D stands for daemon, and we are going to check the status of it. So that's how this command has been derived. Let us run this command. Sudo service MySQL D status. Enter. Now you can see MySQL D is showing us running. So basically MySQL database is up and running. Also you can see one more thing, PID showing us 5079. What is the meaning of PID? PID stands for process ID. So generally in Windows, we use Task Manager to see the list of all the applications and running processes. On Linux, to see the list of all the running processes, we have a command called as ps-eaf. So this is the command that is used to see the list of all the running processes in Linux. Hit enter. The output is huge, but again, I'm going to filter it out by using grep MySQL. Here you can see the process ID. Here, whatever you're seeing is nothing but a process. Every process will have a process ID, and we can see the process ID for this 5079. Right? If I rerun the above command again, you can see the process ID 5079 is nothing but this. Right? So these two will confirm me that MySQL database is running fine. Now I will try to connect to MySQL database in other terminal. Click on view and zoom in. Set the title, terminal set title, MySQL. Let's connect to MySQL. MySQL space -u root -p Cloudera. Enter. So we are able to connect to the MySQL database. Right? And you can also see the list of all the databases, show databases. This will get me the list of all the databases. So we have seen how to check the status of MySQL, whether it is up and running or not, and we are able to connect to that. And one important point which I want to mention here is you have to know about JDBC jar file. Now, what is JDBC? JDBC stands for Java Database Connectivity. Java Database Connectivity. Because as I told, even though we are going to run Sqoop commands, internally it is the Java code which will try to connect to the MySQL database. So that's why we need to have this JDBC jar file. JDBC stands for Java Database Connectivity. We need to have this jar file. Only then the Sqoop commands will try to connect to the MySQL database. So Sqoop connects to the remote database which requires a JDBC jar file to be available as follows. So you have to check in this path, user share Java, whether we have the JDBC jar file available or not. Let us verify that. User share Java. So I'm in user share Java path. So here you should see the JDBC jar file for MySQL. I can see the JDBC jar file for MySQL database. So remember one thing, as we wanted to connect to the MySQL database, hence we have to have the JDBC jar file for MySQL. Suppose if you join a project and they are using Oracle database, then in that case, under user share Java path, you have to have the JDBC jar file for Oracle database. So the point is clear. The JDBC jar file changes from database to database. As we are using MySQL here, we have to have the JDBC jar file for MySQL database, right? Remember that. Now, what will happen if you don't have this JDBC jar file? The Sqoop commands won't work. If you try to run Sqoop commands will fail. So make sure that you have this JDBC jar file before running Sqoop commands. So there is a checklist that I have prepared to see whether the Sqoop environment has been set up correct or not. Let's go through it one by one. Check whether MySQL client is installed and make sure to run MySQL command to validate the credentials are working. So credentials is nothing but username and password, and we are able to successfully connect to MySQL database. So the first 2 points are fine. Let's focus on the third one. Check whether the JDBC jar file is available in lib folder. So this path, var lib sqoop, you should have this JDBC jar file for MySQL database. Otherwise, you will see class not found exception. Suppose you have joined a project and you're trying to run Sqoop commands. The Sqoop commands are failing with class not found exception. In that case, what you should do is you should immediately go and check var lib sqoop path. You should have the JDBC jar file for MySQL database. Otherwise, you will see class not found exception. Let's go and verify the same. Var lib sqoop. So I'm under var lib sqoop path. So I can see the JDBC jar file for MySQL database. Right? So the point is clear. So under user share Java, you should have to have the JDBC jar file for MySQL. Under var lib sqoop also, you have to have the JDBC jar file for MySQL. Remember that. Otherwise, the Sqoop commands will fail. Now, once all this is fine, we'll try to run some simple commands to check the connectivity between Sqoop and MySQL. So let us start running the list databases command. So I will go here. I'll clear the screen. So I'll go to my desktop, right click, say create document, empty file. If you want, you can give a name to this. Give it as, let's say, Sqoop. Open that. So you can actually start running your command. Suppose Sqoop space. I wanted to see the list of all the databases in MySQL. So I can just say list hyphen databases hyphen connect JDBC colon MySQL colon // Again, I'll explain that. First, let me try to run this command. And then I'll explain that. Username is root. Password is Cloudera. Let's copy this command. and go to the Sqoop terminal, right click and paste it. We are trying to see the list of all the databases in MySQL database by using Sqoop. Now observe this output. Whatever output that you are seeing here is nothing but the output that you have got from this, right? So that's how by using Sqoop list databases, we are able to see the list of all the databases in MySQL database. Now I am going to break down this command into multiple lines. So I'll break it down into multiple lines. Let's copy this command and go to the Sqoop terminal, clear the screen, right click and paste it. This should give the exact same output. Now have a look here, I got the same output, right? Now which one is preferred? I'll tell you. So basically we have a command, right? And the command can be broken down into multiple lines in Linux by using backslash symbol. So this backslash is actually a Linux feature, not the Sqoop feature, which can be used to break a given command into multiple lines, right? Now you can get the same output by running the first approach or second approach, but I would preferably go with the second one because it is very easy to read the command. It is very easy to modify it. So hence going forward, I'll be following the second approach where I'm going to break down the command into multiple lines by using backslash. Let me talk a little bit about --- connect. So let me just copy this. Just copy this and paste it here. So in connect, you can see JDBC. JDBC stands for Java Database Connectivity. That is, we are trying to connect to the MySQL database by using Java program in the background. And we are also mentioning where the database is running. So right now the MySQL database is running on the local host, that is on the Cloudera Quick-Start-VM. That's why we are giving local host. And what is the meaning of 3306? It is nothing but the port number on which MySQL database is running. Now how to find out this port number? Let me show you. You have to run a command called as netstat. Netstat stands for network statistics -tlnp. It will give me the list of all the ports of all the services that are running, but we are interested only in MySQL. So I can just try to grep for MySQL. But this is asking us to run in root, right? So how to run it as root? You have to prefix the command with sudo. Sudo stands for super user 2. That is, we are trying to run this command as root user. We got the output. Let me zoom out to show it clearly. So have a look here. We are getting the output, and you can see that we have MySQL D here, which is nothing but MySQL database service. And also you can see the port number. Port number is showing a 3306. This is how you can figure out the port number on which the MySQL database is running, right? Also, this number 5079, is it looking familiar to you? Yes. If you remember, that was the process ID, right? Let me show that again. This 5079 is nothing but the process ID which you can see. And how do you see the port number? Port number is here, 3306. So that's how in our Sqoop commands in connecting we are using 3306. Right? So I can see some questions in the chat. Let me read that. So there is one question in the chat: how to transfer the unstructured data. That's where we have a component called as Kafka. We can use Kafka to import that unstructured data. If it is structured data like tables, we can use Sqoop to transfer the data. Another question which I got in the chat is, I believe these Java jar files we can find it on Cloudera site. So this is the question which I've got. Yeah, again, one thing, let me make it clear. The JDBC jar file that I was talking, right, that will be taken care of by the Hadoop admin. We don't need to worry much about it, but it will help in your debugging process. Suppose if you are trying to run Sqoop commands and Sqoop commands are failing with class not found exception, then first thing that you're going to check is whether we have the JDBC jar files available or not in user shared Java path. And also the JDBC jar file should be available in varlib Sqoop. Right? So if the Sqoop commands are failing with class not found exception, you should immediately go and check these two locations, whether we have the JDBC jar files available or not. If the JDBC jar files are not available, then you are going to send an email to the Hadoop admin team to download and place the JDBC jar files in the respective paths. Right? So again, the jar files downloading and placing it in a correct path, it's a responsibility of Hadoop admin. As a developer, we don't need to worry much about it. I hope that answers the question. So we have seen list databases, right? And we spoke about -FN connect, right? So in connect, we are mentioning what is the database we are trying to connect to, and what is the host name on which the MySQL database is running, and we are also giving the port number. So we are trying to do the list databases, right? But one thing which I wanted to observe from the logs is, so let me do one thing. Let me try to rerun this command once again. Copy this, go to Sqoop terminal, right click and paste it. You can see setting your password on command line is insecure. Consider using -P instead. So basically in our Sqoop commands, we are using -FN password and we are mentioning Cloudera. So anybody can read this password and might misuse it. So it is not the secure way of giving the password. It is insecure way of giving the password. In the interviews, don't say that you are using -FN password in your Sqoop commands. That's not the secure way of giving the passwords. In the project, we will never use -FN password. Right? There are other alternatives which I'll talk about it now. In fact, they're giving one suggestion. Consider using -P instead. Let's try using that. So I'm going to remove this -FN password. I'll just give -P. Just copy this, and here you can just paste it here. So you can see that it is asking me for the password. I can enter the password as Cloudera, and I can get the same output, right? But even though it is secure, but there is one problem here. I have to enter the password again and again manually. If you wanted to automate something, we cannot automate it if you are using -P, right? So that's where I have a third approach of giving the password. So let me show that. I'm going to use VI editor to create a file called as sqoop_password.txt. It will have the password, which is nothing but Cloudera, right? Let me do one thing. Let me just try to remove this file. It was created earlier. I will remove it and recreate it now. Just a moment. So I'm going to enter the password as Cloudera. Save and come out of this file. So you can just say lsfnlrt cat sqoop password.txt. You can see the password is showing as Cloudera. Now I'm going to use this password file to actually run my Sqoop commands. So let me modify that. So here instead of P, I'm going to say -FN password -file. So then I can mention home Cloudera password file, which is nothing but sqoop_password.txt. So I am giving the complete path of my sqoop_password.txt file. Type pwd, I'm under home Cloudera. There we have the file called as sqoop_password.txt. So we are giving that. So then let us see if this works. Copy it and paste it here. It's failing. It's saying that okay, error while loading the password file. The provided password file doesn't exist. Provided password file doesn't exist. So are we not giving the correct path? If you just look at the path is correct, right? Home Cloudera, we can see the file sqoop_password.txt. So the path is correct. Then what are we missing here? So if the file is in local Linux file system, you have to give the file protocol by saying file:/. Only then it can recognize that path. Let's copy this and paste it here. So this time we are seeing a different error now. It's saying access denied. Are we not given the correct password? Let's verify that. So the password is correct. Then what are we missing? There is one important thing here. Whenever you try to create the files by using BI editor, it will add a hidden new line character. It will add a hidden new line character. So that is why it is printing it and it is going to the next line, because VI editor automatically adds a hidden new line character. Now I'll tell you how to fix this problem. So to talk about fixing this problem, I have to talk about echo in Linux. So echo is similar to a print statement. Whatever you give in the double quotes, it is used to print the same. Suppose if I say hello world, it will print the same. Suppose if I say Cloudera, it will print it. But there is one flexibility that you get with echo is you can actually avoid this new line character. Let us look at the manual pages of echo. Man echo. You can see it is used to display a line of text, and you can see it supports an option called as -n. If you use -n, it will not add any hidden new line character. Let us use that. Now I will say echo Cloudera. I'm going to again say echo space -n Cloudera. Do you see the difference? So when you say echo Cloudera, we are seeing this. And if you say echo -n Cloudera, it is not printing it in the next line. It is immediately printing it in the same line. So we're going to follow this approach to create our password file. So what I can do is I can just use greater than symbol and then give the same file name. It will overwrite the contents now. Now let us look at the file sqoop_password.txt. Let us look at the contents, and you can see that it is printing it in the same line. So basically there are no hidden new line characters here, right? I can also show you that it will work as it is. I won't make any changes and it will still work. You got the output, right? So that's how you can use -f password file also to give the password. So also let me show you one more interesting thing. So initially when we have created the password file, look at the size, 9 bytes. But ideally speaking, Cloudera is just of 8 characters. Then why is it showing 9 bytes? Because there is one extra hidden new line character which cannot be seen. Because of that, it is showing 1 character extra or 1 byte extra. But after removing that hidden new line character, look at the size of this. It's showing us 8 bytes, right? Now, which is the correct one? Cloudera is of 8 characters, right? After removing that new line character, you can see that it is showing the correct number of characters, right? So in fact, one more thing, we can actually give the password file from Hadoop also. Right now it is available in Linux, right? Let us copy that to Hadoop. How to copy it to Hadoop? I can use put command. HDFS space DFS-put the file name, copy it into user Cloudera path. So I have copied, but I want to make sure that it is copied. Use the Cloudera. And I can see the file called as sqoop_password.txt here. Now I have to refer to this file in my Sqoop commands. I'll copy this and I'll paste it here. So here in the password file, now the file is available in HDFS. I have to say HDFS:// and then you have to give the full path of your file. Let's copy the path, select it, right click, copy it and paste it. Let's copy this, go to the Sqoop terminal, right click and paste it. Now have a look here, we got the output, right? So that's how we can even refer to the file which is available in HDFS. But one flexibility that you get here is, if the file is available in HDFS, you don't need to mention this HDFS protocol. You can remove that. That is, even if you just remove HDFS:// it will still work. Let's try this. Go to the Sqoop terminal, right click and paste it here. You should get the same output. Right, you got output. Right. So that's how we are able to see the different ways of giving the password. Remember that never ever say that you are using -FN password in the projects. In the interviews, right? We will never use -FN password in the interviews. Sorry, in the projects. Don't say this. Most preferable way is to go with -FN password file. Now, also there is one flexibility that we have is, if you want, you can keep all the parameters in a file and we can refer to that by using -FN options file. Let's do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new properties file, MySQL_DB. Let's say DB connection details. MySQL DB connection dot properties. Enter. Go to the insert mode. I'm just going to mention only these three parameters: connect string, username, and password. Right click and paste it. So you can break this down into multiple lines. Make sure you remove that backslash and break it down into multiple lines as I'm showing. So save and come out of this. You have this file called as MySQL DB connection.properties. Look at the contents of it. MySQL DB connection.properties. So these are the contents. So I'm going to use this file now with my Sqoop commands. So ideally speaking, the full command is this, but as these three lines are getting repeated for every command, what I could do is I could refer to that properties file by using options file and then give the full path of it. Under home Cloudera, the file name is MySQL DB connection properties. Let's copy this. Go to Sqoop terminal, right click and paste it. So we got the output, right? So that's how we can even use options file to actually keep all the parameters in a file and we can use it in our Sqoop operations. So we have seen how to use list databases. Let's also see how to list the tables. So we have multiple databases here. Let me try to switch to retail DB. Use space retail DB. You have retail DB here. I'm trying to switch to that. Show tables. I have some tables here. Now I can get the list of all these tables by using Sqoop list tables. So I'll copy this, I'll paste it. So list tables. But one change that we have to make in your properties file is, let me open that file. So here in the connect string, right, you have to mention the database name also, retail DB. So you can see that you have to mention the database name here, right? Only then it works. So I'm going to rerun the command again. This should work fine now. If you don't give the database name, it won't work clearly. You have to give the database name also when you run these tables. Now you can see that we're able to get the list of all the tables in the retail DB. The same tables we're able to get it here. So that's how we can even run Sqoop list tables. There is another command called a Sqoop eval, using which you can run any valid SQL queries. Let me show that. Suppose I wanted to see the top 10 records from orders. Then I can say select star from orders, limit 10. So I can see the top 10 records. The similar query, we can run it by using Sqoop also directly. So let me show you. So you have to use Sqoop eval. So options file remains same, and I'm going to add one extra parameter here by saying -- query. You can give any valid SQL query within the double quotes. Select star from orders. That's a limit 10. Just copy this. Go to Sqoop terminal, clear the screen. I click and paste it. Now you can see that we're able to see the top 10 records by using Sqoop eval. You can pass on any valid SQL query in the double quotes. So that's with respect to Sqoop eval, right? So now I want to talk about Sqoop import, which is very important operation. So it will take a lot of time. We'll resume back on Monday. So as it being first hands-on session of Sqoop, I want to keep it little short. Any questions so far? If you don't have any questions, we'll again meet on Monday. Okay. Any questions, guys? Anybody have any questions?
Vamshi, can you help me like this application? I have a small issue.
1 minute.